Welcome back to Autism Live. We're really thrilled right now. We're just not going to have enough time. I'm going to say that out the gate. Right now in the studio, we have Terry Hart and Harri O'Kelly. And there's so much to talk about that I'm not even sure where to begin. But let's start with talking about what the O'Kelly Lab is.
Well, the O'Kelly Lab is a self-proclaimed lab. It's actually our family. You know, I have 2 special needs children that are on the spectrum, and I have 1 medically fragile. And so when you're given that, you either embrace it or it consumes you.
Yeah.
And the lab is actually all of us working together, our family, looking for new supports, new tools, new therapies like we've created with Terry Hart. We've created Mime as therapy, and that's an example of the kind of things that we do. I was lucky enough when my daughter was diagnosed at 3 to have regional center services, which were so important, as you know. And I was introduced to the floor time therapy. And so that gave me some wonderful tools as a mom. And one of the tools was to follow the lead of your child. And so that's what I use with the O'Kelly Lab. I mostly follow my children's lead. I try to stay very present with what's going on with them. And the O'Kelly Lab is really trying to promote advocacy. We're wanting families to get involved with their children's disabilities or strengths or both, and really just learn how to support each other and have more successes.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you started a collaboration with Terry Hart, and you're from Mime as therapy.
Yes.
Now that in and of itself is just so interesting. We could take 2 hours on that,
yeah,
right?
you could. We could. But and it's brilliant. And she kind of led the way. She, our kids went to the same school, and that's how we met. And both in the business and the entertainment business. And she found out from my wife that that I am a mime from a long time ago, from way long time ago, Shields and Yarnell days. And
I know who Shields and Yarnell
are. You know who that is, right?
I just referenced them the other day.
Oh, you did?
Talking about this.
Oh, okay.
So there we go. We're all of an age.
So yes, exactly. And so she said to my wife, "Can I do Mime? Oh, can I borrow your husband for a little bit?"
George, as you do.
Yeah.
I need to borrow mine.
Yeah, I need to borrow mine. Yeah. So
it was a very strange phone call.
Yeah. So yeah, and he was working. Jordan was working on a project through Young Storytellers.
Young Storytellers.
Yeah,
That's
another great
we were
organization.
talking earlier about telling
Storytelling,
stories.
Yeah.
And how you're such an amazing storyteller.
Well, likewise.
And this is an amazing nonprofit that goes into schools and helps children that stories have not been told. And so he was working on that project, and they asked him to do a film. And of course, as a mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you going to do that? You can't direct actors, you can't read social cues, you've got facial recognition problems, you don't recognize anyone.
Right.
How are you going to do this?
But he was watching Mime, right?
He was watching
on
Mime.
YouTube
So
or something like
hence
that.
you needed to borrow mine.
And he said, I'm going to do it using Mime. And I said, what are you talking about? And he had been watching videos online.
Of Shields and Yarnell?
Of
a whole bunch of
different people. And so at that point, we didn't realize he didn't have the facial recognition. It was just early. We've been working together almost 3 years now. I can't believe it. And so it began that journey of being in the present, following your child's lead. What is so interesting to him about Mime? And he said, Mom, I'm going to do a short about a mime and a guy fighting over a girl. And so
he called She's Mine. He called it She's Mine.
She's Mine.
She's
That's
Mine.
very clever.
Very clever. And so
go online and watch that, and Terry ended up being in it. But when he started that journey, I said, I can't. As a mom, I was like, I can't let him just jump out there. And I remembered that Terry was a mime. So that's just from his idea where it started.
I just want to say, just pause for a second and just, say to everybody watching, because moments fly by in your life and your kid says, I'm interested in something, and you go, right? But I love it when a mom says, well, I'm going to go and find a professional mime because I think I know somebody. Or so they say, I know somebody who knows somebody, right? But how wonderful that you said yes. And
oh, well.
This is how we need more of this in the world asking,
That's what we're
because
all
that's
about.
when you find people who are on, we talk about the circle of the autism community, and it's when we find people that are just on the outskirts of that and pull them in that everything gets better, right?
It is so
you
true.
said yes.
So I said yes. I would help with this because it's a love of my life. But you know, if anybody out there who does mime or knows about mime, it's not a it's not something you can make a lot of money at, first of
Right.
all. So, you know, you do it for the love of it, and I've been doing it for many years. I stopped telling people that I was a mime. Back in the old days, I went out for a casting and to a guy who was doing Happy Days, and he knew that I did mime. So I did a little mime, and I did some other little sketch, and I would call him from time to time, seeing if there was any, you know, roles for. He goes, there's no roles for mimes now.
Right.
I don't have any roles for mimes right now. So you get pigeonholed.
I was going to say, that's
yeah,
exactly the term,
so
pigeonhole.
you get
That's
pigeonholed. Yeah,
changed
yeah.
now.
Well, it is now, but
Mime is back.
yeah, mime
With a
is
vengeance.
with a
It's
vengeance.
back,
Yes.
especially in our
So,
population.
yeah. So again, it's the love of my life, and I said I saw how this really affected Jordan, and then I said to myself, this is really unique. This is really different. And can I explain a little bit about what I
Yes,
think
please
mime
do.
is and how it impacts?
Yes.
Okay, so mime is a blend of storytelling and illusion and discovery. Okay. You know, their mimes are always paying attention to the world around them because they create that world around them, and then
Right.
they're always reacting to the world around them.
Okay.
For instance, so mimes are always just telling stories. You know, they're usually surprised by
I
the
feel like
world
we
that they
should
find
pause
them in.
for applause.
Yeah, no.
No, it's lovely.
We got more.
Okay.
So mime is therapy. So then, you know, I saw how it was affecting
Yeah.
Jordan. And what we teach in mime is therapy is we teach our students to pay attention to the world around them. And it's a world that they create. We have them pay attention to their bodies. We have them paying attention to their movement. We have them paying attention to their emotions and knowing that it all reads. So basically on my website it says we're helping them to connect, create, and communicate. And that's really what the goal of this has been. We do have a clip. I don't know when we're going to
Yeah,
show
why don't we
this
show
little
the clip now and
Okay.
want to set it up for us? What are we going to see?
This is the warm-up from the...
Well, we should go back. So one of the projects that we've done with the O'Kelly Lab is Jordan wrote a book when he was 10 to get out of homework.
This is one of your children.
And yes, and
Love this. If we can, Traven, can you put it on my camera? There we go.
and it's on Amazon, and he's been selling it, which has been awesome. If you have children out there that have stories to tell, I encourage you to let them write it. He wrote that to get out of doing homework in 4th grade. And
How I
so-
got out of homework in 4th grade.
And he has
Wonderful.
gone to different conferences and donated the book or raised funds with it for different organizations, and it's been wonderful for him. It's really helped him. So
Love
he went to the Sing conference in the summer, and he met the founder, Dr. James T. Webb, and then shortly after that, he passed away, and he wanted to do something in honor of this amazing man that had such vision to make a difference for twice exceptional children.
Yeah.
And so he decided to take his book, which is short stories, cut them down into monologues, and create a show.
And how old is he now?
He's just turned 14.
Okay, like, well, this is pretty amazing.
But this is a autistic child
I know.
that had a full-time aide. We had to fight for that all
We
the
just
way
were talking
through.
about that. Yep.
All the way through elementary school. He really is challenged with visual, spatial. He can't recognize facial cues. Hence, he was so looking at the whole body with
Right.
mime to try to figure out the emotions. So you never know what it is that's stopping
Exactly.
a child from succeeding. So he's edited down these short stories.
Amazing.
We had, I think, 15 kids perform them. And so we wanted to make it spectrum friendly.
Yeah.
And so we used a very small theater. We did a repertoire where we cast the parts so kids didn't have the anxiety of trying to compete. We did
Right.
it all collaborative.
Excuse me.
And we brought Terry Hart in to warm them up. And he was in a consulting model. He came in He worked with each child on their piece, basically pulling out the emotion of what the child's piece was about,
Right.
and helping them make that connection. So like he does, he really connects all the pieces for our population. It's so wonderful.
Love, love, love it. Okay, so in this clip, you were going to tell us, what are we going to see?
Oh, so in the clip, yeah, part of the warm-up process, thank you, I was getting them to use their body.
Okay.
And so basically, you'll see it'll be self-explanatory.
Okay, roll the clip, Traven.
Very good. And then here, and scooch. Let's go back this way. Here,
You can't hear it,
here,
but I can hear it in my phone.
scooch. This one you don't have to move because you are moving. You're moving your whole body. So, okay. And then here, great.
Amazing how specific the work is, right?
Well, thank you, and that's a great segue into something else that I think is important about Mime. It works on the physical as well, so it helps them with coordination, of course, and balance and eye contact, but it also helps them with executive function and sequencing. For instance, go back to that glass that we were just talking about. You know, what I would have my students, I did workshops at the Spectrum Lab, for instance, and we would break down just the movement of picking up that glass of water. So I'd have them center themselves, look around the room, and then see the glass, and notice the glass. And mimes are always noticing and taking and thinking a thought about it. So, and then I'd have them bring their hand up and reach out, but don't touch the glass. Grab the glass, but don't lift it up. Lift it up, but don't drink it. Drink it. Put it back, but don't let it go. Let it go, but don't take your hand away. Take your hand away. And then move on.
Right.
So we break down all these movements, and I'm going to, and maybe your mind is thinking what I'm thinking about another therapist, Sarah Ward.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sarah
So
Ward.
we break down these movements
Right.
so that they can. I mean, it's not that I want them to break down every movement in their life like that,
Right.
but I want them to be aware that all the different pieces that make up. You go into a restaurant and they are quite often surprised that the waiter comes and
Right.
wants to take their order. So it's the sequence of things. When you sit in the restaurant, know that you're going to put the napkin on your lap. Know
Right.
that someone's going to hand you a menu and you're going to read it. So
Right.
that kind of thing. But we do this in these exercises like that one particularly.
And it makes it very exciting for them because
It's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, it's a lot
And
of fun to
that's, I
tell
think, the key
stories.
to everything.
Yeah, make it a good
Something
story.
you both share is humor. There's a lot of humor in what he does.
Right.
I mean, we would take challenges when we started workshopping it. So we had the initial session with my son where he learned the language of mime because he needed to translate it with his script.
Right.
And we saw immediately. I had worked with Michelle Garcia Winner with social thinking, and so I immediately saw the benefits of mime if we put that in with Michelle Garcia Winner's work. And we actually this summer presented at their provider conference, and it was
Oh,
that was
phenomenal.
fun.
They were
Yeah, up
so
in South San Francisco.
wonderful
Yeah.
How
and
very fun.
accepting, and it was just it was great. The other person that we just mentioned is Sarah Ward. Sarah Ward does a lot. She's a speech therapist that does a lot of work with executive function, and she uses something called Mime It, and it's basically like I'm talking now. I'm using gestures, and by using a gesture when you're explaining what's happening next, you're moving that thought of executive function or that thing that you're going to do when you get to school or
Right.
remembering your lunch, all of these things that us moms want to kind of front load
Yes.
our kids when they're getting ready to leave the door, getting ready to leave the house to go to school. By miming it, by gesturing it, you're actually taking it out of the working memory part of the brain and moving it into the episodic part of the brain.
Isn't that
So
interesting?
she's doing all this work with mime,
I
with just
love that.
gesturing, and it was fascinating for us when we finally met her and heard her speak about it because we were doing that and
It was
we've
very
been doing
exciting,
that.
yeah.
And so it was awesome to see that she was using the gestures.
She's not
and we
teaching
were-
mime, but she's having them in their mind. And I don't know if she's
Just adding
teaching them
gesture.
to just adding gestures to
Right.
it, or today I'm
movement.
going to go to school and I'm going to open up my locker and I'm going to get out my book and I'm going to close my locker, and I'm going to scramble the thing, and I'm going to take my book, and I'm going to grab my lunch and go. And so you have
you're
them
sequencing,
see yourself do these things.
But
Right.
with your you're actually miming and adding that gesture. So there's so much going on with brain research now, and
Yes.
I mean we've
Mirror
worked
neurons.
with Nicole
Yes.
Tetrell and Dr. Nicole Tetrell, and she has helped us to understand, like, what is it? Why does it work?
Right.
What we're doing? Like, it's just, what is it about the brain that's making this all kind of happen for our kids? We've just seen so much. And when we presented at UNCA,
Oh, yeah,
You
the
were-
World Autism Festival in Vancouver a year ago, October, and
you opened the festival.
they opened the
and you
festival
had
with some
kids
mime.
from all over the world that didn't speak
They
English.
didn't speak English,
And he was using this
communicate.
nonverbal language, and it was just amazing. It was
Well, I
just
think
amazing.
there's so much for so many of us to learn, because the walking through the steps of learning, okay, that I can mime to go through an action, also creates an awareness so that when they see somebody else do it, it's the sub-language of what's happening, which is
Absolutely.
often missed when talking with somebody who's on the spectrum who hasn't been exposed to that.
Right.
Yeah.
There are all those cues, and what a fun way to bring awareness to that.
Right.
Right. I do these things called the tableaus, where I'll have them stand in the neutral position, and I'm not standing now, and then I'll say, okay, you're neutral, all right, now everybody, the whole class, it's fun to watch too, and I did it as a performance exercise for the Spectrum's Christmas show the year before I met you.
Fun.
And anyway, so you're this, and then everybody, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, do your pirate. And then go back to neutral, pirate, neutral, or superhero, neutral, superhero. So I had them do these different, so they felt what the emotion, superhero was, oh gosh, they're all over superhero,
Right.
or all over pirate,
Oh, very fun.
But it is interesting because some of our kids, like you had mentioned, they haven't been exposed to some of these nonverbal, like they don't recognize a pirate.
Yeah.
So you have to, and he does it so well. He meets the child where they're at.
Fabulous.
And that's, I think, a big message for all of us parents is like, if your pirate is just, very subtle, you still see it. You
Yes.
see, very good. I love your pirate
There you
because
go.
everyone's pirate is different.
Of course it is. Now you're working on a film now.
I'm working on the documentary of the process that we're going through, taking my son's book and making it into a stage reading. And he's editing we're trying to edit the book so that we can bring it out as a book of monologues for kids on the spectrum and 2E kids. So
I love it.
yeah,
I absolutely love
it'll
it.
be fun.
So for people who are watching and they go, okay, this excites me, I want to know more, how would they get a hold of you guys?
Well, you can go to my website, which is, I made it myself, so. But it
Why
has
are
all
you
this information.
apologizing
No,
for it?
okay, but it has all the information. That's mimestherapy.org.
Okay,
mimestherapy.org. Or you can write me, terry@mimestherapy.com.
Okay.
And I want to know what's going on, because what we're working on currently is I'm doing, for the lack of better words, a mime-along, where we're going to do 1-minute videos, 1 or 2-minute videos, and we'll do stuff like I'll teach them how to do the rope, and just stuff like this will hopefully be instructive, and it'll be something that you can download at home. And anyway, that's what we're working on. So if anybody has challenges or things they want me to address, please write
Or
me.
any ideas.
Any ideas, yeah.
We want to make warm-ups. We've been approached to do warm-ups for right before work, not just going right before school, like a right before school warm-up
Yeah.
for parents, or right before you go to work for older
Yes.
people on the spectrum, individuals that need to just warm up. We want to warm up your face. We want to have you be ready. We want to work through that sleep inertia that we all have in the morning.
It's funny that
that you're ready.
we have a topic always every day on Thursday, and our topic is setting yourself up for success.
There you go.
Right.
By doing an antecedent modification, something before you do something, which is a warm up.
Yeah, right, exactly, yes.
We've gone full circle. Did
On the
everybody
way here, I watched you say that, so now I know what you're talking about.
There we go.
ABC.
Right.
Yes.
And that is the perfect antecedent.
Yeah.
And a lot of our kids start with a detail, and they miss the big picture. And this has been very helpful for that. You know, we have a tunnel vision, and so if the
Or the
child
opposite.
starts, or the opposite,
My kid
yes.
sees the big picture and may miss
Doesn't
the
see-
details.
There you go.
Yeah,
right?
the steps along the way, the
Yes,
sequencing, yes.
exactly.
All of these steps are included in Mime therapy, and we love
Love
it.
it.
We're laughing our way through communicating.
And you have a schedule. We didn't get to your website. What's your website? And
It would be theokellylab.com.
okay.
And please, it's under construction. We're just starting to launch it. So, but you can go to it and put your email, give us your
Okay.
email address and email us.
You guys are awesome. I want to be on your mailing list so that I know when you're doing things like this. That would be awesome.
And we want to be on yours. We love what you're
You
doing.
can be on my mailing list always, right? So thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you,
I
Shannon.
wish we had like hours more but we got to have you back.
We'll come
Yeah,
back.
oh yeah, we'll come back. I have so
but
much
let
to
us
say.
know when you're doing another
For a mime.
Yes, you can.
I have
mime
so much
for
to say for a mime.
But let us know when you're doing another performance. We'd love to come to that. We try
Thank
to get
you
out
so
when we
much.
can. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Great, thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break. We are going to have one more guest that we're going to squeeze into this show, and I had her name here just a second. She's coming to us to talk about Night to Remember. Paula Crasium is going to be with us. I'm sure I slaughtered her name. We'll find out from her. Stick with us.